Zenith Energy have been granted an acceptance of an exploration permit regarding Italy's only uranium deposit. Standing beside me is the company's CEO, Andrea Cattaneo. Welcome.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. I thought you could begin by telling us a little bit about the press release that you released here recently and why it's so significant for Zenith Energy.
Indeed. Zenith has received, through one of its subsidiaries, acceptance for the application of exploration permit in 2 mines. And these 2 mines are the only 2 mines of uranium in Italy and one of the very few in Europe. These 2 mines are already built, and so there is then an interesting aspect in that, although the process should start again from scratch. Uranium is a very special product. You know, if we speak about gold, oil, and gas, there are enormous quantities of gold, oil, and gas somewhere. It's just a question to extract them and then to deliver them to the market. So it's a question of price. And then instead, the uranium is a very rare material. It was even practically unfound around the moment of the discovery of its utilization in 1941. And so only after the World War II, there have been very important geological research, especially in Soviet Union, that has permitted to find large mines, large deposits of uranium around the globe, especially in Central Asia, as I said, and in Africa. But there are many now nuclear stations under construction, so the demand, depending the favor which is growing of the government of Europe, is growing even in Europe, but the supply is not certain. And so this makes uranium a very special product to produce. Zenith then is very proud to be one of the few producers in future of this material, and with the advantage that the mine that we are taking care of have been built and drilled 40 years ago.
And the in-situ metal value is estimated at $1.2 billion US dollars. Can you tell us how reliable that valuation is?
Yes, it is, as all evaluations, it depends on the quality of the parameters. This situation is very reliable because the 2 mines have been drilled 40 years ago. It's not, in fact, a situation of greenfield exploration. It's a situation in which 25 kilometers of galleries have been drilled between the early 80s and the 70s and the 80s for the 2 different mines. So it's a very solid fact. It's not a speculation. Then the deposit, in fact, are assumed to be 15 million of uranium, and that permits to say that there is a reality and not something that can be except marginally wrong. The grades are very high. They are, just to make a comparison, which is very well known to some Swedish investors. The grades are 5 to 6 times higher than the Viken supposed deposit in Sweden. And so the 1.2 is made at the market price of the uranium, which is between 77 and 83 bid and ask. So we took prudently a mid price of $80 per pound. And so this is an index of the price today. But the price should be perceived by the public in consideration of the fact that there is a strong demand. There are many nuclear stations in construction around the globe, and instead the uranium production is at the moment stable, but used maybe by other competitors of European stations. So there will be a problem potentially of Europe having its own necessity of uranium fulfilled. So the fact to have uranium within the borders of European Union is extremely important, and in fact this makes the mines in Italy and Sweden very valuable. These numbers are made within the parameters of what being Canadian company, Zenith Energy, will be the certificate that eventually we will deliver. That is the NI, National Instrument 43101 of Canada, which is a reserve report that eventually will be, or a resource report that eventually will be delivered to the public.
And what is the plan for the deposit? Does Zenith intend to develop them in the long term, or could you divest or farm parts of them?
Zenith has a long history of continuity in its investment. Anything that Zenith has done in the last 17 years of existence has been brought forward for many years with increase of dimension and increase of profitability. So this is the tradition and the sort of track record of Zenith. So equally in this project, there is the interest to make it long term. At the same time, the project, after a certain period, will reach a very important dimension, which may surpass the limit of Zenith balance sheet. And so at that time, and within this time, there will be the entry in our capital of money from the EU, money from the various governments in which we operate, in the countries in which we operate, and as well some institutional investors or state-owned enterprises that look with great interest to the fact that we hold important quantity of uranium. As Zenith has always made this culture of continuity, as we have demonstrated with our very successful campaign in photovoltaic, we are in a continuity mode. So we may buy another exploration asset of uranium around Europe in the future. So certainly is long term. Our point is to develop with the specialization in a sector like we have done before with electricity and gas in Italy, then recently with photovoltaic, to deliver important upside in added value for the investors through a competence and specialization.
You mentioned the possibility of listing a separate company. How likely is that to happen, and when?
Well, it comes out of what I said so far, that the fact that this project has extremely important dimension in the long run, not in the next 3 years, but after some years of development. And then the fact that we are very keen to see the shareholders, of which I am just one of them, long term and the largest in number, and so very close to the fortune of our stock price. One of the best solutions appears to be the spin-off of this project in a one product only company. And so of course the shareholders will be given the maximum advantage, the existing shareholders at the moment of the communication of this spin-off, because they will receive either shares or cash and shares of the IPO of the other company. So it will be a success, and that will give maybe the possibility to the uranium company to take off without any other distraction, being the arbitration or other activities in fossil or in green electricity, and so to be just identified as an uranium company. So we plan seriously to make this spin-off.
And in terms of Zenith Energy's broader strategy and value proposition, how does this development add to it?
Well, obviously Zenith Energy being an energy company, the fact that we had yet another mode of making energy, which is from uranium, shows our continuity, our consistency in the production of alternative energy, and the fact that we have been able to listen to the new wave of political sentiment, which from Sweden to Italy, two governments that they have both been a forefront in making the idea that uranium should be reconsidered as a green source of energy, make us proud to have picked up this sentiment and to have been able to scout such transaction before others, before competitors. I should remind that Zenith is not new to this type of finding and coup. We have been able to enter the gas sector in Italy in 2012 with such a transaction similar. In Tunisia, we made a fantastic transaction, which then eventually has brought to other development in arbitration, but has been a big hit for the investors. So this is another of our scouting first, and so we are very proud of it. Indeed, uranium is among the critical raw material for the European Union laws and programs. And as the world is becoming more complicated by the day, and then the geopolitical aspects are becoming confused and somehow uncertain, historical supply from Africa and from Central Asia is not appearing as secure as it was before. Recent accidents, especially in Africa, have caused uncertainties in the consumer, which are big state companies, of this uranium in Europe. So then the fact that we are then an European mine will eventually permit us to be an European supplier to European buyers.
What about safety then? How important is it for Zenith Energy?
Safety is critical and very important for us. Personally, I think that for any CEO and for any top management team, the fact that to deal in dangerous material is something that creates in the years a long sense of responsibility and a long sense of even care, anxiety, and prudence in any movement we do. I should remind you that from 2010 we produce oil and gas, which are explosive and polluting. And so then we have dealt with environmental agencies, environmental controls, environmental duties for the last 15 years. And in production, truly handling, delivering, storing, and processing oil and gas. And then this has continued with electricity, which is another, for different reasons, less dangerous, but still dangerous for the people operating the machines, the equipment, because electricity can create shock that can be lethal. And so at the moment, in all this process, Zenith, for 15 years, has never had an accident, except minor spillage because a valve has been broken or something like that, which has been immediately repaired. And so we are proud, and we want to continue with our care and track record in safety in this new world of uranium. Uranium is the cause of radioactivity. Radioactivity is something that is very alerting people that don't know it about. It happens that 2 years and a half ago, I finished and authored a book in which many pages are about uranium. So I have certain competence about the fact. And uranium, which was discovered in the 1800s and was initially thought just a material useful to make ceramic, has become instead in the 20th century a very important material for the reason that everybody knows. But still, people don't understand very much the element of radioactivity. What is the danger of radioactivity? Radioactivity is all over us. There is radioactivity in many activities that we do during the day. The old television, before this plasma television, they were issuing radioactivity. So there is sometimes a misconception about the risk of radioactivity, but nevertheless, our prime role will be, especially in the area of the mine, to guarantee the population and the rulers of these locations that we are very careful in anything we do, and we have a pride to maintain the top level of safety.
Thank you very much, Zenith Energy CEO Andrea Cattaneo.
See you soon. Thank you.